Hi everyone and welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, me, Nic and Steve-O.
With your hosts, me.
Me?
And I love it.
Just me
it's
and
good,
you. Me and you.
I know this is going to be, it's a real fun one today. Real tough one to get our heads around. We were talking about how long this is going to go for and because it's so in-depth.
Yeah,
it's just
really fascinating.
one topic, cholesterol.
One topic. Yep, exactly.
We could do that in 5 seconds, couldn't we?
Well, according to if we go with history of what the doctors think cholesterol does, it's doing 5 minutes flat.
Exactly. It's like, cholesterol, it's that bad stuff that no one ever needs. But why have we got all these papers in front of us? Like, for those who are listening, we've pretty much covered the table with scientific papers, and all we're talking about is one little topic called cholesterol.
Yeah.
Let me guess, cholesterol's bad and you've got to reduce it at all costs. Is that it, Nic?
That's it. Done. Let's go home.
Go home. Yep. Yeah, no. I don't think so.
No, we actually decided to talk about this topic because we were just having a conversation the other week about someone had a question about cholesterol and they had high cholesterol. And we sort of went into the reasons around cholesterol and why it doesn't matter if it's so high, things like that, and decided this would be a really cool topic because cholesterol gets a bad name.
Shocking.
And cholesterol itself is actually good.
Yes.
It's not the devil that it's made out to be.
Weird, that, isn't it? Because do people know what cholesterol is and why? Because I remember going to parties and that sort of thing, and even dinner parties. Everyone knows their cholesterol number.
That's right.
And I'm not going to speak out of turn. We had a staff member who just left here who knew his cholesterol number. We were just chatting. Mine's 4.7. It's low and it's good and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So everyone. And he is not trained in natural medicine.
That's right.
But isn't that interesting? Everyone knows their cholesterol number.
Everyone knows their number, and it's all about the number, apparently, which we're going to dispel.
And I find that interesting because cholesterol is one of those mysteries where, firstly, if it's bad, and we're going to go into this, of course, in depth, but if it's bad, why has everyone got it?
Exactly. That's right.
And where do we get it from? Everyone knows probably you get it from eggs or something like that, but it's a bit more than that, isn't it?
It is it's a lot more than that.
And then there's this confusing thing called good and bad cholesterol.
Yes.
So some's good, some's bad.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about things like lipoprotein A and apolipoprotein B, and there's two items of that, and it's like, what the hell's all that crap? That's what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
That is what we're going to talk about. So I guess we just start at the top. Oh, and if everyone sort of hangs in till the end, they sort of thinking, cholesterol, how boring.
Yeah.
Don't think that because it is actually really interesting, and I think everyone will learn a lot. A lot of people will learn a lot from what we've got to say, and they might have a different view of cholesterol when we finish, and we're also going to give some solutions and things for people who may have issues with cardiovascular disease and propensity towards those types of conditions, vascular issues, that we can give some good evidence-based treatments around that as well. So you've got to stick around to the end to hear all that.
Amazing. We'll start from the basics, then we'll go from the cholesterol is what we call a lipoprotein.
Yes.
Now, it's got fat and protein in it. The reason for that is because if you've ever done what I do, which is change my oil in the driveway and spill it naturally on the driveway, and I get the hose out to wash it off. So I'm undoing the oil in my car and I take the sump plug off and naturally it drips everywhere. And I can't hose it off because the oil and water don't mix. Yeah. So what the body does is it emulsifies, which is mixes the fats by adding a protein in there, and that means it can be transferred through the body. Exactly. So cholesterol is a way that we transport fats around the body for whatever reason that we'll get into.
Yeah.
Most of the cholesterol in the body is made in the liver, about 80%.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you're a vegan, there's some of those around, about 100% of the cholesterol is made in your liver.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's just stop there for a sec. How bad can this chemical be if 80% of it's made in the liver?
That's exactly right.
Have we got dumb livers?
Well, I don't think so.
Can I get rid of my liver? I don't want this cholesterol. It's toxic. It'll kill me.
Get rid of it if you like. I don't know how well you go without it.
I do. I die.
You would die. You would die.
You die without a liver. So I'm not recommending anyone get their liver ripped out.
No, don't do that.
So we've got this weird thing, and our liver's making our cholesterol. But why, Nic? Why does our liver make this cholesterol stuff?
Well, the cholesterol has quite a lot of really important functions in the body. So obviously we need it. We don't want to try and get rid of it.
No.
So basically it helps to contribute to the structure of our membranes and keeps them nice and fluid.
Yes. So our membranes are like They're our cell walls.
Yes.
Plants, like this thing behind us that I'm pointing to, it's probably, I just realised most people listen to, I'm pointing to a plant. These cell walls have very strong cell walls. We just have a membrane.
Yes.
Things like this can make structure. Things in our cells can pass in and out of our cells.
That's right.
Across the lipid membranes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So they make some of the structure in the body.
Yeah.
What else? Cholesterol.
Hormones.
Hormones?
They
Which
make
ones?
hormones. So they make things like our cortisol, so our adrenal hormones,
Yep.
our aldosterone, our adrenal androgens, and they make sex hormones as well. So
All of
our
them.
estrogen, our testosterone, our progesterone, all those really important sex hormones. So when we're going to go into that a little bit about the hormonal factor with hormones as well, with cholesterol as well. It's a constituent of bile salts.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah, so we need
Yeah.
bile salts. Are very important for digestion.
Yeah.
So we need to.
Yeah.
You're just sitting
I'm
there
just
playing
getting
with your
comfortable because
microphone,
I'll
aren't
be
you?
here a while because this is a big topic. I'm just getting comfortable.
Yeah, that's right. And it actually helps in the synthesis of vitamin D as well.
D.
Yeah.
So hang on. Let's just stop a sec. So this cholesterol stuff that we all hate and we're trying to get rid of, and the lower the better, and you can't have too low and terrible. It makes sex hormones, bile stuff,
Yep.
structure stuff, vitamin stuff in the body. So why are we all trying to get rid of this stuff?
That's right. Why
It's
are we?
weird. And our liver makes it.
That's right. Yeah,
Oh my God.
I know.
But people in the old days, and I'm talking the old days, were very anti-cholesterol.
Very much so.
You remember Ansel Keys?
I do remember Ansel Keys, yes.
Yeah, he died I think he lived for 100 years or something. He's quite, but he's a famous scientist for looking at this whole sort of atherosclerosis thing, which is fats building up in the arteries. And what we knew from earlier studies that was on rabbits, you inject a rabbit with cholesterol and it builds up in their arteries.
Yeah.
So this cholesterol stuff must be the cause of heart disease, as simple as that.
That's right.
So from that hypothesis, he went on and said, well, what's made of cholesterol? What do we know? And we know a few things. And the first thing was that saturated fats, he hypothesized, increased the levels of cholesterol. So he commissioned a major study and he looked at 7 countries, famous 7 country studies. And he found that saturated fats in the diet was linked to heart disease and cholesterol.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. Well, that's convincing. Is it 7 countries?
Oh, must be, yeah.
Except he ignored about 14 of the other
That's
ones,
right.
which said the opposite. So it was a little bit of a dodgy one. And unfortunately, from being a good scientist to being, ultimately on his deathbed, was shown to have misled the scientific community for many, many years.
Yeah.
And saturated fats were banished from even today. I think some people think saturated fats are really bad.
Yeah, they do. Some people do.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it?
It is scary. Yeah. So, I mean, we could discuss what atherosclerosis
Well, that's
is.
a good point because
one of
that kills most of us.
does kill most of us, yeah.
Well, what's atherosclerosis?
Well, I mean, obviously some of the medical profession, not all, think that cholesterol is what creates atherosclerosis, which we're going to debunk that myth.
Yeah.
So atherosclerosis is when the arteries become narrow and hardened from plaques.
Yeah.
So what actually happens is you have your artery,
Yep.
and then the fat actually. Some people think that the artery builds up in the channel of your artery, so
Right.
where the blood flows through.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't. It builds up in the walls of your arteries, and it swells the walls out.
Yeah.
And then what happens if it continues to swell? That it can create plaques, and those plaques can crack. And then you'll get, say, a blood clot on top
Yep.
of that crack. And the blood clot is what actually blocks that artery.
Jeez.
So people that have heart attacks
Yeah.
generally have a clear artery
Yeah.
right up until they have their heart attack. So people think that it's slowly closing over. It's not. No. It's actually more the blood clot that's doing that. So
Isn't that scary?
yeah, really scary.
So just going back to this blood clot thing that kills most people, called a heart attack. In your heart is a muscle that pumps your blood, and it's got arteries that feed the muscle.
Yeah.
Like all arteries. And they call these things the coronary arteries. So in the olden days, they used to call it having a coronary.
Yes.
which was when the artery blocked. And there's a big one that runs down to the bottom of the left ventricle called the widowmaker, because if you get that one blocked, then you probably die. But most heart attacks these days are survived by people. You know, my mum has had a heart attack. My dad's had a heart attack. Both alive to this very day. My mum's was 10 years ago. My dad was yonks ago. So heart attacks are survived. So what they're doing now is luckily there's modern medicines which are established to dilate these arteries. The first one is nitroglycerin, which is a explosive, but it's a spray you put under the tongue. So if you have an acute heart attack, it's what they give you, and it forces the artery open so you get blood to that part of the heart, and the heart stops dying. And they know you're having a heart attack now because you can do a blood test called a troponin, which is an enzyme released from dying cardiac muscle. So if your troponin levels are high, you're having a heart attack.
That's right.
So there's all these sorts of tricky things now that make us live. But this atherosclerosis, I like to go backwards and see, well, what's driving that? And if we measured the fattiness that's in that part of the artery, it's cholesterol.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? Because that sounds like to me that cholesterol would cause heart disease, and you'd close the book and you'd shut up shop. But it's not as simple as that, is it?
It's definitely not as simple as that. No, cholesterol itself doesn't cause these issues. We're going to talk about some of the issues that are caused by, that do cause atherosclerosis, heart attacks, that type of thing. So, but yeah, inflammation is a big one as well. Inflammation of those arteries is very, very, makes them very susceptible to atherosclerosis, heart, and vascular disease.
Oh, well, that's incredible, because a famous blood test for measuring inflammation is C-reactive protein, and it is a major cardiovascular profile marker that you can measure for in the blood, simple blood test, to measure your risk of getting heart disease.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So inflammation, we know inflammation is terrible for many things, but in the artery, what happens is you have inflammation, your body mounts an immune response, because obviously we don't want chronic inflammation. So your immune system will send out things called macrophages. So they'll go in to clean up whatever it is that's going on in there. Macrophages love the taste of fat, just like we love the taste of fat.
So do I.
So the macrophages get in there and they chomp away on the fat. And then the macrophages get fat. And they turn into things called foam cells.
Foam cells.
And then the foam cells, then they explode, and they've got a necrotic core, and that creates more inflammation. So then the immune system sends in more macrophages who go in there to clean it up. They get fat, and we have a continual cycle, which then starts to build up that plaque in the artery.
Wow.
So inflammation itself can cause atherosclerosis, rather than, when we're maybe not cholesterol in that instance.
Absolutely remarkable, because that process is called phagocytosis, where the foam cells created. But it doesn't just gobble any sort of cholesterol, does it?
No.
There's all these different types of cholesterol. Can you run through some of the types?
So we have HDL cholesterol.
HDL stands for high-density lipoprotein.
Yeah. We have.
Now, that's often called the what? The good cholesterol,
That's
isn't
the
it?
good cholesterol, yes, in air quotes, good cholesterol.
Yeah, I'm going to say in air quotes. I'm doing that, but no one's seeing me because they're mostly listening. So it's in air quotes. It's called the good one.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And then we have the supposed bad one.
Yep, the baddie.
Low density lipoprotein,
Yep.
so LDL.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a really bad one. We have VLDL, so very low density lipoprotein.
That's it.
It's like a tongue twister.
It is. So that must be very, very bad then, isn't it?
This is very, very bad. We have intermediate density lipoprotein as well.
I
We have chylomicrons
as
well. So yeah, we have, and then we have. We can talk about particle sizes as we go along as well. So
and
not
size
only
matters.
Size does matter. In this instance, size definitely matters.
You like the bigger ones, don't you?
I like the bigger ones, yes. I like the bigger size LDL and the bigger size HDL.
Yes.
Yes, proteins. We want bigger, not smaller. Smaller are more dangerous.
They are.
So it's not just a matter of HDL and LDL.
And then there's other weird things called lipoprotein A and apolipoprotein Bs. And what lipoprotein A, is that a goodie or a baddie?
That's a baddie.
It's a real baddie.
It's a real baddie. You don't want to have high levels of that in your body. So, so we can talk about the main causes of heart attacks and vascular disease are actually lipoprotein A.
Yep.
And insulin resistance.
Whoa.
Did I mention cholesterol in that?
No, you didn't mention
didn't.
it. Where's that? Like,
That's not
where
in
was
there.
cholesterol in the paper? It wasn't
That's
in the
not in there.
papers.
70% of heart attacks are due to insulin resistance,
Whoa.
and the other 20% related to lipoprotein A. So that's a fairly big number.
90% if my maths is correct.
That's right. And the other 10%, genetic factors.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Okay, now let's break this down. You mentioned lipoprotein A. I've got a paper here on lipoprotein A, and it definitely does cause atherosclerosis. It's really bad. Now, can you test for it?
You can test for it. Yeah, it's not a standard test.
No.
And as you were saying before we started filming,
Yeah,
a lot of doctors don't even know what it is.
Well, mine didn't 10 years ago when
No.
I asked for my wife, Rebecca, we tested her lipoprotein A because she just had a high LDL cholesterol. Now, a sub-fraction of that is the really bad lipoprotein A.
Yeah.
Now, to make sure that it wasn't just LDL, which is not necessarily bad,
No.
even though it's called the bad cholesterol, I measured lipoprotein A. It was elevated, but not significantly, so it wasn't a huge problem.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're out there and you're really worried about your heart, this would be a good test to get. If you're not worried, you've got a good heart and all that sort of stuff, I wouldn't worry about it. But it's certainly something. Well, in fact, you should ask for that test.
Yeah, I think, and we can talk about who should possibly look at. There's a couple of really good tests. One that you've had done that we will talk about.
Yeah, I had one done about 10 years ago.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. But yes, lipoprotein A, quite dangerous in high amounts.
Yeah.
So it actually hangs off the head of the LDL.
Yep.
It actually thickens the blood. So you don't want high levels of that, obviously.
You
to
mentioned
thicken the
clotting before, didn't you?
I did mention clotting. Yeah. So none of us
Don't want that at all.
clotting.
Isn't that remarkable? Now, you also mentioned insulin resistance. Firstly, what is insulin resistance? We should explain that.
Well, insulin resistance is when your body is essentially what it says, it becomes resistant to insulin.
Okay, so
you can be producing great amounts of insulin, your body won't uptake it. Therefore, you keep producing more, and then you have your body, it won't go into the cell, so your cell becomes resistant. So then your body thinks that you have, low insulin, so you're pumping out more, and then obviously we start to have metabolic issues. Well, metabolic issues are the precursor to insulin resistance, and that's 70% of heart attacks are due to insulin resistance, which is becoming one of the leading causes of death now, insulin resistance.
It's horrendous. Now, about 1 million Australians have insulin resistance.
Yeah.
So this is pretty common.
Very common.
And even, I reckon, more than that. No, actually, 1 million have diabetes. So millions would have insulin resistance. So insulin's not working. And insulin's job is to sort of get stuff into the cells.
That's right.
And if you're resistant to it, you can't get stuff in the cells. So it builds up outside the cells.
Yep.
And one of those things is glucose. So if you have a fasting glucose test, it could be elevated, and that's called diabetes.
Yeah.
But before you get to that point, the body is working hard to get rid of that. So it pumps out more and more insulin. Insulin is atherogenic, as you correctly point out, and also stops you burning fat.
Yeah.
And you become this metabolic syndrome. And a lot of women who have PCOS have insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance, yeah. They're calling it diabesity now.
Yeah,
So
I love that word.
Yeah, I love it too, because that's what it is. It starts out at insulin resistance. So, we all know that sort of actually, it's not entirely true. The presentation, when you look at someone, you can't actually tell if they're insulin, they've got sort of pre-diabetes or metabolic issues. A lot of them you can have a lot of adiposity fat, a lot of high adiposity around their middle, but a lot of them don't. So I get quite a few clients in clinic that have insulin issues that on presentation, to look at them, you wouldn't think that they are insulin resistant.
Yeah.
So getting tested is a very good thing. So getting your blood glucose levels tested, HbA1c, they're really good markers to get tested
Hemoglobin
as well.
A1C for those things. That's a measure of long-term sugar stability.
Yeah, you can get your actual insulin, fasting insulin levels checked as well to see what they look like. Blood pressure is another one.
Yeah.
So, and funnily enough, I've got it here somewhere. I can't find it because we've got so many papers.
Oh, it's nuts.
But hypertension is one of the leading causes of.
That's high blood pressure?
Yeah.
So it's when your blood pressure is diastolic over 140, systolic over 90. So 140 over 90. You might have heard the 120 over 80 is good. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think they've amended it now to
a little bit
170
lower.
over 10.
Yeah.
Over 10.
That's good, because I used to have low
70 over
blood pressure for all my life, and now it's normal.
Yeah, 110 over 70. Sorry, well, not 170 over 10.
It's funny you mention that because cholesterol, the number for that, it's 5.5, but if you've got a risk factor, which 90% of people do, it should be below 4.
That's what we didn't say that at the start.
I know.
Everyone should have a cholesterol level below 4 to 4.5, below 4.5 ideally. But naturopathically, no, 5.5 to 6.5 is what we like to look for.
Well, scientifically, we want it high. I've got a paper. Well, can I quote it now?
Yeah, quote that paper.
I love this paper. This is published in Scientific Reports. And the reason why I love this paper is it's the largest study on people I've ever seen, where they looked at not 1.2, but 12.8 million adults.
So just a small study then?
Yeah, just a small study. So, yeah. But what I love about it is the title, Total Cholesterol and All-Cause Mortality by Sex and Age. So whatever you are, it covers it. So is total cholesterol related to you dying? Which I think is important.
Yes.
You can talk about all the minutiae of diseases and all this sort of stuff, but is it related to you dying? And to cut a long story short, remember, you've got to be under what they call 200 milligrams per deciliter, which is about 5.5 in our scale. So that's the gold standard for Australians, okay? But the longest lived people, the lowest mortality or the longest lived people had cholesterols 210 to 249. So if you've got high cholesterol, and when I say high, I mean compared to the standards here, way over 6, you're going to live the longest.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that remarkable?
It is remarkable.
Like, we can crap on about this, that, the high LDLs, but if your total cholesterol level is about 6, that's when you're going to live the longest.
That's right.
6 to 7. So,
and
it's what they call a U-shaped relationship. And you can see the graphs here. I'm going to hold them up for the camera, but if you can imagine the shape of a U, that's the one I'm pointing to here is total cholesterol, all participants. You see it's a U-shape. And right at the very bottom of the U is 240 millilitres or about 6.5 cholesterol. That's where you want to be to live the longest. Now, so if you've got too low a cholesterol, you can see there that your death rate skyrockets. And too high, it goes up, but I wouldn't say it skyrockets.
No, definitely nowhere near.
So, and it's pretty similar for males and females, but as you can see, that finger there, that's male and female. You can see that the relationship is
pretty even.
It's pretty even.
Yeah, it is.
So you certainly don't want too low. You know what I mean? And so you don't want it too high. But and I'm talking like if yours is 6, then you'll probably live the longest.
Yeah, and we should probably mention that we need to look at the breakdown. So we're talking about total cholesterol.
That's total cholesterol.
That's total cholesterol, but we also look at the breakdown. So standard is HDL, LDL, triglycerides.
Yes.
That's just standard, what you'd get if you walked into a GP.
We haven't mentioned triglycerides.
We haven't mentioned triglycerides at all, no. So triglycerides are, they're the bad ones. You don't want those to go up.
No.
Yeah.
And you know what drives them up?
Sugar, carbohydrates.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Because that's counterintuitive because triglycerides are a fat.
Yep.
And the way to get more fat in your blood is to eat carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And that's the missing link between the Ansel Keys 57 study of the 7 countries where he didn't make that link between carbohydrates and increasing triglycerides because triglycerides are made in the liver. The way to stimulate the liver to make fats in the blood is to give it carbohydrates.
That's right.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah. So when we go back to insulin resistance, a lot of people that are insulin resistant have high carbohydrate, high sugar diets, refined carbs, processed foods. So so it's the carbohydrates that's the ones you've got to look at. So if a client comes into my office, I always get bloods done, and generally they've just got their standard lipid profile. And to be honest, a lot of times I just have total cholesterol on there.
Really?
Yeah. They don't even have the breakdown. So I always look at the breakdown. So they'll come and sit in front of me or sit on the other side of the screen because my clinic's virtual. And say my doctor wants to put me on statins. I'm really worried my cholesterol's going up. And I said, well, let's have a look at it. I said, oh, no, it's high. It's 6 point something. Oh. And I said, okay, that's your total cholesterol. And then let's look at the breakdown. Yeah. So oh, my God, I haven't I had breakfast this morning. HDL.
I bought an apple in for you too.
Did you? Oh, thank you.
It's good for your cholesterol.
That is good for cholesterol. You're right. HDL is on the higher side.
Yeah.
And then triglycerides are very low.
Right.
So to me, that actually is looking more like a healthy profile.
Yeah.
But obviously we look at family history as well. So we have to talk about that. So when we're talking about family history, we're not talking about father or grandfather that had heart disease or heart attack in their 80s. It's more if you have immediate family that have had a heart attack or in a vascular incident by the time they're 65. So that's more your family history. So in that instance, you'd be looking at further testing. If you do have high LDL, high according to the medical profession. So, but overall, if you don't have any of that family history, you live a healthy lifestyle, your other biomarkers are quite good, then I say to them, you do not need to worry about your cholesterol. It's actually very healthy. So that's something, when they walk into the doctor's office, that a lot of doctors don't look at that breakdown.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about statins a bit later. Well, not a lot, but a bit about them.
But
we got to remember the LDL cholesterol, the bad one, is the one that's made in the liver.
Yeah.
And what it does is it transports fat and drops the fat off out into the tissues that make the vitamin Ds, your biles, your hormones. And by dumping off the fat, it turns into a high-density lipoprotein and comes back and cleans up things. So the HDL is good. So, but your liver makes this LDL, so that's a target for the statin drugs.
Yeah.
Because there's an enzyme in there called, you're writing this down, people at home, 3-hydroxy-3-methyl glucocoenzyme reductase, and that's the enzyme that makes cholesterol in the liver.
Yeah.
So you stop that with statins or reduce that with statins. And then there's this new type of monoclonal antibodies for LDL cholesterol.
Yeah.
PSK, so anyway, I won't go into those. But they're a new type of drug that even drops them even further. But the mystery is that if insulin resistance is driving all of this up, which are high sugars causing the high triglycerides and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't want to be Captain Obvious here, but wouldn't it be the first step is to stop snacking on lollies after dinner or ice cream, or stop the white bread and the white flour for breakfast and all this sort of stuff? Those terrible cereals that everybody eats in Australia. We're terrible at that.
You would think so. And what else do those refined carbohydrates do is they reduce your HDL particle size.
Yeah, they do.
So they make them smaller. So as we were saying before, small's bad.
Yep.
Large is
we've
good.
established that.
Yeah. So therefore, that's where you're driving more of that atherosclerosis with the sugars, and then reducing your particle size is making it more dangerous.
Wow.
So so reduce the refined carbohydrates first stop. Obviously, you're looking at all the other lifestyle factors, but that would be the first thing you would imagine that you would do rather than running for a statin.
Look, you and I are health nuts in the world of reality, but the average, Joe Sixpack out there would not be unusual to have Wheat Bix for breakfast, then maybe have a soft drink or a muffin for morning tea, one or the other or both. And I'm thinking, and then have a ham, cheese, tomato sandwich for lunch.
Yeah.
I used to eat them.
Yep.
I'm usually white bread, but even if it's brown, it's still got the refined carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And then for dinner, have the good old spuds, potatoes and rice and pasta and noodles. So they're having this flour stuff all day.
Yeah.
No, I'm not mentioning junk food.
No.
I didn't mention the ice creams and the Mars bars and the Snickers bars. I used to eat so many Snickers bars, it was ridiculous.
We talked about that one all the time.
They were just
Snickers bars.
It's funny. I mean, if they were, they're just full of sugar and stuff. But geez, they taste good.
Yeah, but didn't they brought out the protein Snickers? Did you see that? In the
I
protein
tried
bar?
one. It was
And like, come on, you're just really polishing it.
Yeah, can we say that word? No, we probably can't. But yeah, it's sort of like. But this is what. But you go to the supermarket. I go to the supermarket.
I guess go to the supermarket.
The aisles of this stuff. Now it's not there because it doesn't sell.
No,
it's there because it sells.
Yeah,
and at the ends they've got those big areas, I call them, of Coca-Cola.
Yes,
somebody's buying them.
Yes,
I haven't bought Coke for donkeys, but somebody's buying them.
Well, I mean, the shelves are empty a lot of the time, so obviously it's getting bought. I don't think I've had a soft drink in 30 years, to be honest.
Well, it's sort of like, again, it's something that if you're going to have all that sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, that's a lot of sugar that you're drinking on top of the food.
Yeah.
Which, there's the good old joke where you go to McDonald's, get the hamburger, fries, and the sundaes, and then you get a Diet Coke.
Yeah, I know. That's funny.
Which is sort of like what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of sugar eaten.
Yeah.
There's
definitely.
a lot of sugar eaten. And I just think, and I'm biased and you're biased too, before you start with statins, start with your diet.
Yeah.
Just start there.
Just reduce your processed foods, but reduce your carbohydrates. What I say to clients is it's not about low carb or keto, or specifically, it's about moderating your carbohydrate intake for your needs.
Yeah,
because carbohydrate is energy. So if you're going to have your carbs and then sit in an office desk all day, then you're not going to be utilizing that energy.
Yeah.
So that's where that ends up as becoming adipose tissue. So, if you want to have your carbs, have it before you train, or if you have it in the morning if you're going to come home in the afternoon and sit down. So it's not about taking all your carbs out, it's about moderating them to your lifestyle.
Exactly. And the results are on the scales, and the results are in your body composition. Now, I'm going to hit you with something here. We didn't talk about this, but there's a lot of people out there now on diet pills, diet injections, semaglutide, for example. That's a horrendous drug, in my opinion. I think it's awful. We've done a podcast on that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people are on it, or they're taking amphetamines for weight loss. Yeah. And what it's led to, and you see a lot of this, is sarcopenic obesity, because they don't exercise the fat off. They take these weird drugs, and they are weird drugs.
They are weird.
And they just stop you eating, so you literally starve, and your muscles starve. And if you've got insulin resistance, you can't get amino acids into your muscles anyway.
That's right.
So you're going to be in big trouble.
Huge trouble. Yeah, same with those people that get those bands, lap bands.
Oh, lap band surgery.
And you say, oh, my God, they've lost 100 kilos and they look like they're walking around to death's door. They're sarcopenic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just wasting away.
We've got to be careful. Sarcopenic obesity is still a form of obesity. The scale might look okay, but if you've got no tone, or you've got no, the muscles have gone because you don't exercise, there's no, we haven't mentioned exercise, but we're going to, obviously, this is a huge part of this, but I mean, exercise. I mean, your clients, you've got to get them to eat well, and, you see sick people too.
I see sick people, yeah. So the people that come to me aren't generally, they have a health issue. A lot of them are healthier, but they still have issues. So perhaps my population of people that I see is a little bit different when we're talking about cholesterol. But yes, I do see mainly sick people. So, yeah.
And it's very interesting because, but let's take the average pundit out there who's a bit overweight, doesn't exercise as much as they used to, getting into their mid-50s or whatever it is, like me, and they're starting to put the weight on, their knees are aching. I used to see them as clients and, I can't at my age. And, you'd ask them, do you exercise? In my 20s, I used to play football, and they're like 55 now. It's like, stop living on the past, mate. And this is why it used to frustrate me, which is why I'm not a practitioner like you are, because it used the excuses I would struggle with. I'd sit there and say, I'm in my mid-50s, and I still go for a run. Yeah. So I struggle with that, but you're better at that than I am, for sure. But you've got to get people to exercise, because that's extraordinarily help. That will regulate so many physiologies in your body. And I know it helps with cholesterol, which is what we're talking about today, but it helps dramatically with insulin resistance. Yeah,
it does. It's 100%. So you're utilising that energy. Your body starts to utilise that energy better. So that's the first thing I say to people who don't exercise, that have insulin issues, PCOS, that type of thing, is get up and go for a walk.
Yeah.
And I do get the excuses as well. I get all of them. I haven't got time. It's too dark in the morning. I have to work. I'm exhausted by the time I get home. Okay, so that's your excuse. So what would you prefer? To get up half an hour early when it's dark, or die?
Yeah, I mean, what did I used to say? And again, I was a bit harsh, but I used to say, what fits into your schedule? 30 minutes of exercise or being dead for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But really...
But I think you have to be harsh. I mean, and I'm
going to get emails about that.
Oh, look, we might get some hate mail. I don't know. But I feel like, I see a lot of people, I see a lot of sick people, and a lot of people are in my office because they have made choices that probably aren't the best for their health, and they're still making those choices, yet they're asking for help. So would I be irresponsible to turn around and say, okay, well, you do what works best for you. If you feel like you can't do that exercise, then let's work around that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that because it's not going to help them.
No.
So sometimes you need a little bit of tough love, to get you going.
Well, naturopaths are ethical people. They're going to try and give you the best result.
Yeah.
Not the easiest, the best.
No.
And if you choose not to take the best advice, then your health's going to suffer.
Yeah. Well, they're coming to see a practitioner to help them.
Yeah.
So they need to either take the help on board, or don't take the help on board, but then just don't ask for the help. It sounds really harsh, but it comes from a place of wanting to help, so you can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So, But something as simple as I even say to clients, start off with a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
Get up 20 minutes earlier and go for a walk.
Yeah.
That's all you have to
the
do.
excuses though. Like I'm going to say them to you because I've heard them. But it's like the first thing is time.
Yeah.
I haven't got time to
Yeah.
exercise in the morning because I start work at 7. Now my wife starts work at 7 and she goes to the gym for about an hour. I mean, I'm not asking people to go for an hour.
No.
But it's like there is a thing called time and you can manage it.
Yeah.
You can just set this is my phone. This is an alarm clock too, if I want it to be. I can just go, that's what I'm waking up.
Yeah.
And it tells me when to wake up.
Yeah.
It's easy. Most people have a phone.
That's right.
I don't. And then you just get up a little bit earlier. You go and you smash it out. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
20 minutes. It's not too much to ask. No. Okay. Another excuse is, it's dark. You mentioned it before. So what then, how would you get people to exercise then?
Well, I generally say then, could you get an exercise bike?
Yeah.
You can get exercise bikes cheap. You can even hire them. So get an exercise bike or a treadmill. Hire a treadmill for a month or 2 months until the seasons change and it becomes lighter outside.
Oh, in Queensland, I go for runs at 5 in the morning. It's burning daylight in summer.
Yeah.
Even this time of year, we're in spring now. We're probably about the 7th of September. I don't know.
Something like that.
It's something like that. And even now, it's just post-winter. And when I chuff off on my run, it's enough to see. But
But there's also a thing called YouTube. Sorry to cut you off, Steve. How many workouts are there on YouTube? So I actually send links to clients sometimes with YouTube videos for exercise. So you can roll out of bed, walk into the lounge room and do a 20-minute workout, anything. You can do something really mild. You can do some stretching. You can do anything from beginner.
There's a staff member in this building that has a wife that does that or a girlfriend that does that.
There is too.
There is
yes.
too. We won't make any.
That's true.
And so it works.
Yeah, it does. It gets you moving.
See, YouTube's, I just look it up for funny cat videos.
Yeah, well, I know you do. No. Yeah, but believe it or not, on YouTube, there is workout videos galore. So that's a good way to get started. If you have insulin resistance, just get up and start moving.
One of my sayings was the most dangerous exercise is the one you don't do.
That's right.
So people go, okay, so let's say, have you ever heard people try to call themselves other species to get out of exercise?
The owl, Steve.
You're an owl. You're a night owl.
Yeah.
Is that the weirdest thing you've heard?
Yeah, I think we mentioned on our last sleep podcast.
Yeah,
I think
that's
just came out about that. That's just basically they're not night owls. They've just ruined they've completely flipped their circadian rhythm. So
let's take a what's wrong with them just going when they get home? Actually, there's a girl in a four-wheel drive club. I was there last night, and she is a phlebotomist. So that's someone who takes blood from measures cholesterol all day. That's what she does all day.
Yeah.
Now she starts work at 6 and she finishes at 3:30. Right? It's a big day, and because they're short staffed. She just says, as soon as I get home, I don't even look at anything else. I go get changed and go for a walk.
Yeah.
And she's a walker. And she's lost, I'm going to say 20 plus kilos. She's remarkably healthy now for an older woman. For an older woman.
There wasn't an earthquake, everyone. The camera just did a weird thing. Did you kick it?
I think I just kicked it.
You're trying to sabotage me.
Absolutely. Yeah, trying to make it vibrating. Yeah. But isn't that amazing? That's what she does. Now, why can't people do that? That's another option for people to exercise.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes.
Incredible.
So coming back to cholesterol, that cholesterol is the cause of all these problems is a myth.
Yeah.
So there was a study called the Framingham's Heart Study. Have you heard of that?
Framingham Heart Study. It's gone on for years, 26 years.
Yeah,
that's good. I guessed that right.
Yeah, you did guess that right.
Where's your notes? I should check.
That showed the average cholesterol of people who had heart attacks compared with those who haven't had heart attacks is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So the cholesterol levels were the same, yet the one's having heart attacks and one lot isn't.
Now, you've just struck onto an extraordinarily fundamental scientific principle about causation and correlation.
That's right, yes.
Now, there's causation and correlation in science. Now, causation doesn't mean correlation. So if it correlates them, but in this case, you can't have causation without correlation.
That's right.
So there's no correlation for the heart to the cholesterol, therefore there can't be a causation.
Yeah.
That's a principle of science.
That's right, exactly.
So they're the same.
Yeah, that's right.
So isn't that remarkable that is a massive study and I just think that is, and it's been going on for years.
Yeah.
In a town called, what was the town called? Framingham. That's right. So it's a major study, but they're looking at this longitudinally. So it's gone on for decades, that thing.
Yeah.
But that's remarkable.
Yeah.
So there's no correlation.
There's no correlation. I'll give you another population that I see quite a lot.
What is it?
People that come in to see me, quite athletic, quite lean.
Yep.
High LDL.
LDL, that's the bad one.
High LDL. High HDL and lower triglycerides. They have a name. They are called, because they might walk into the doctor and the doctor goes, oh, your LDL is too high, statin it is for you.
Yeah.
So without even looking any further, these people are called, I'm going to also mention that I did a lot of my research from Dr. Ross Walker, who's an amazing Australian cardiologist. Amazing. Preventative medicine, top of the tree. So I've taken some of the research from his teachings just to credit him.
Yeah, good.
Lean mass responders, these people are.
Lean mass responders.
Yeah. So basically, they because they're leaner, the lipoproteins might need to be transported to take a greater amount of energy for fat.
Yeah.
So that results in high LDL levels, but they do not have issues with their arteries. It's not dangerous at all. So they walk into a doctor's and they say, well, your LDL is high, you need a statin, when actually they're actually extremely healthy.
Yeah.
So, and their LDL is higher because they're taking more of that fat for energy.
Wow.
So, someone that's walking around going, oh my God, I've been told, I thought I was really healthy, I'm quite athletic, I'm quite lean, but my LDL is quite high. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Most of the time, not doing anything wrong.
Here's the scary thing about statins, and we mentioned statins are drugs that are very commonly prescribed. I think they're the most commonly prescribed drug in Australia. They were a couple of years ago. I haven't checked recently. But everybody's on them, and they inhibit that enzyme that makes cholesterol, but they have horrendous side effects, and one of them is muscle pain.
Yeah.
So imagine if you're on them and then you're trying to tell these people to exercise and they've got horrendous muscle pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it just stops you exercising.
Yeah, fatigue, and we'll talk about the reasons why that is as well.
Yeah.
Fatigue, can cause fatigue. And then the original, like Lipitor, we're talking about Lipitor is one of the biggest statins, fat-soluble statin.
I think that's Simvastatin, that one, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, so the fat-soluble statins are a lot more dangerous than there's water-soluble ones now.
Yeah.
So the fat-soluble ones get into the brain. But long-term, 10-plus years on statins increase risk of cancers, that type of thing. And we've got a chart we can show later of the what can happen if you're on a statin for a long period of time.
I've got a
when you don't need it. Let's
when
you don't need it.
If you're on a statin, of course, don't go off them without your doctor telling you.
And we're not downing statins. Statins are definitely can be a really important tool for people that need them. And there are a population that need them. So we're definitely not downing them. All we're saying is that there is a vast amount of population that are on them that actually don't need to be on them, and it's causing more problems than not being on them at all.
It's very scary, you're right. Absolutely. There was a study published, and this is a very recent one, this is this year, 2023. And it's published in the American Journal of Gastroenterology, and it's on statins, which you think, what's gastroenterology? That's bowel stuff. What's that got to do with statin stuff? And the study was interesting. Basically, they looked at a study to see whether statins can prevent colorectal cancer, CRC. Okay? And I'm just going to read the conclusion. This study does not support the benefit of statin use in CRC, chemo prevention, or any association between total cholesterol or cardiovascular risk. On the contrary, long-term statin use, and that's long-term, may be associated with increased colon cancer risk driven by proximal colon cancer. Proximal is the closer to the so that's a bad one.
Yeah.
Distal is towards the rectum where it can be excised. So this is scary. This is absolutely scary.
Yeah.
Now, how long do you have to be on these things for it to? Thing is 1 to 5 years. Yeah. Now, the longer it gets worse, 6 to 10 years increase it by 45%, and for 11 to 15 years, which a lot of people are on, is over 200%. Now, 200% is quite risky. So after 1 year, your rate of colon cancers increase on statins. Now, colon cancer is one of the more common cancers. So it's not like a rare cancer where you might get from numbers 2 to 3.
Yeah.
This is from 2 million to 3 million. So it's a huge
massive,
lump
isn't it?
of increase.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think that's a
crazy.
little bit scary. Now, again, people are going to say, what are you talking about this? Well, it's called, the title is called Long-Term Statin Use, Total Cholesterol Level and Risk of Colorectal Cancer, a prospective cohort study. And that's published 2023 and published in the American Journal of Gastroenterology. So really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff.
There you go. Well, there's one. I think we talked about this before. British Medical Journal published a study titled "Lack of an Association or an Inverse Association Between Low-Density Lipoprotein Cholesterol and Mortality in the Elderly."
Whoa.
You'll get this. You'll make this.
Yep.
This will make you laugh. What was considered the elderly, Steve? 60 plus.
I'm almost elderly then.
Almost elderly. So it was a systemic review. And that's sort of what we were saying before. If you're over 60, have had high LDL and have had no treatment for it, and have not had heart disease in the past, the longer you live, the less cancer you have, the less gastrointestinal diseases you have, less infectious diseases you have, if you have had high LDL your whole life with no incidents.
Right.
So there you go.
So it seems to be protective. The bad cholesterol, and I'm using inverted commas for the people at home, the bad cholesterol protects you against cancer and heart disease.
Yeah.
The higher it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's another really interesting
That was interesting already, but I want another one.
So the covering of the cell membrane, as we said, the cholesterol helps with the cell membrane, is 75% fat.
Yeah.
So a lot of the most unhealthy people are malnourished people because they don't have as much of that fat to protect that membrane. They get more toxins that pass through. So those people say a lot of communities in Africa and things like that have a lot of malnourishment. They are actually more unwell than people who have a little bit more weight on them because they don't have that protection from that fatty membrane.
Right.
So if you've got people, say, coming in that are on low-fat diets and they're exercising, and I see a lot of them, very, very, very thin, underweight, under-eating, not eating fats, things like that, they're actually doing themselves a lot of damage because they're losing that fat that protection for that membrane. That fatty membrane.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's the malnourishment is not good in regards to your vascular health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is something people don't think of.
And that's remarkable. So just to recap here, we've got this good and bad cholesterol and total cholesterol. We know that total cholesterol should be about 6 or higher for longevity, all-cause mortality. That's what you want to avoid dying, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. Now we're saying that the bad cholesterol is protective against heart disease, according to the British Medical Journal, if it's elevated, and in their terms. So we may have had this whole thing wrong because, this cholesterol stuff that our body naturally makes. And even the bad cholesterol seems to be protective of certain things. And again, that was work done by Dr. Ross Walker.
Yeah, it was.
Now, I mean, he's a cardiologist.
No, he's amazing.
And he's quoting a British Medical Journal, which is a prestigious journal.
Yeah.
The evidence doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. No.
I find that absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember there's different levels of evidence. Now, I'm going to hit you some other issues with cholesterol. Okay? We have a mental health crisis in Australia at the moment, and now we're taking cholesterol in. It's being published in the Annals of General Psychiatry. And it's like, what the hell has cholesterol got to do with psychiatry?
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And what they found was that people with lower levels of cholesterol levels have a higher risk of suicide.
Yeah.
Isn't that remarkable?
It is remarkable.
That is remarkable. Now, it's an association, and there's also association with low plasma cholesterol levels and suicidal behaviour in patients with major depression. So other markers. So this is an incredible study. It was published in 2017, so a few years ago now. But I find that remarkable that low level of cholesterol, and a lot of people have under cholesterolization in their body.
Yeah.
It causes mental health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, I see that in clinic. I see quite a few clients that come to me that have low cholesterol, and a lot of them do have mental health issues. Yeah. Very common. Yeah.
See, that's understated because let's say someone's got a mental health and they're just depressed. They're just chronically depressed. There's people I know in my life that are chronically depressed. There's one person I know here who's chronically depressed. Don't know what's causing it. There's nothing wrong with his life in this case. Nothing wrong with going on, but just chronically depressed.
Yeah.
they could have low cholesterol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could be the cause.
Yeah.
May not be. It could be something totally different. Could be something, but
it's worth looking at.
It's a simple blood test.
Yeah.
It's probably the most common blood test done by humans in the Western world.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, isn't that remarkable? That could be the case.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder if psychiatrists screen for cholesterol in their depressed patients.
I'm going to say possibly no.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be some amazing forward-thinking ones out there that do, but I would say the majority no.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth a test, isn't it?
Yeah,
simple just to find out what's going on.
It's definitely worth a test.
Because there's some bloody expensive treatments for depression these days.
Oh, yeah, there is, isn't there? And then it's funny, as I was looking through all of this stuff, I was thinking, because I see a lot of postmenopausal women as well, and they all come to me and the first thing they say is, oh my God, my cholesterol is shot straight up since I've gone through menopause. And I look at the studies and they say it's because of the estrogen is gone and the estrogen keeps your cholesterol down. And obviously the studies are proving that, but would that not translate to every woman that has good estrogen levels would have lower cholesterol? Yeah. So I believe that it's more, we become more insulin resistant
yep,
postmenopausally.
Postmenopausal.
Obviously, you lose those hormones. And what did we say at the beginning? That your cholesterol helps to produce those sex hormones. Is your body then trying to make more cholesterol to try and bring up some hormones?
Wow.
So is that the reason that's shooting up? Because a lot of times I see them and they're not unhealthy, and then their doctors are putting them on statins. Probably 60% of the postmenopausal women I see are on statins.
Gee, my father-in-law is a doctor, been 50 years. He's not a fan of statins at all. And he always sort of says, okay, cholesterol, because he's seeing cholesterol levels healthy at 6 and then drop back to 5.5. And then they went to 4 for people at high risk. And he's going, hang on a second. Now, everybody's got high cholesterol.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but if that was the case and you were trying to sell a cholesterol drug, that would be a way to do it. And I know that's conspiracy theories and that, but he firmly thinks that there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because it was healthy once and now it's not.
Yeah.
And cholesterol, there's been a lot of myths around it. There's been a lot of problems with it, but most of it's made in your liver.
That's right.
So it can't be that bad.
No.
But I want to hit you with another one here. Yeah. And we talked about evidence levels before, and the highest level of evidence in this hierarchical thing, you can Google this little triangle thing at the very top, is systemic reviews and meta-analysis. I've got a systemic review of meta-analysis here of cholesterol and the risk of hemorrhagic stroke, which is bleeding into your brain. Yeah. Pretty bad sort of stroke.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, pretty bad one. And here's the bottom line from all of it. This was published in a journal called Stroke. Okay, just so you know. It's called stroke. That's what it's called. It says total cholesterol levels were inversely associated with risk of hemorrhagic stroke. Now, inversely means as one goes up, the other goes down, like a seesaw.
Yes.
Okay, so as your cholesterol level goes up, the risk of hemorrhagic stroke goes down.
Yeah. Look at that.
Isn't that remarkable?
That is remarkable.
Now, of course, people that they looked at was over 1 million because it's a meta-analysis. It's all the studies on it. Isn't that remarkable?
It's remarkable.
You want to protect against stroke, make sure your cholesterol's in a healthy range. And what's a healthy range? It's not 4, it's above 6.
Yeah, above 6. It's interesting actually because I have had a very forward-thinking doctor back when we talked about my past competing and all that sort of stuff and getting underweight and that sort of thing. And my cholesterol was quite high. And I also believe for the hormonal factor and inflammation, all that sort of stuff. The doctor that I went to get blood tests, this is a long, long, long before I was ever thinking about becoming a naturopath, 30 years ago probably. He said, don't worry about your cholesterol. It's probably your genetics. How forward thinking is that? Because if we look at everything in our body, if everyone had to have the same cholesterol level to be healthy, then wouldn't that mean that our genetic makeup, our biochemistry was exactly the same across the board? Yeah. So but we're not. We're all different. We all sit a little bit differently. My family our LDL sits a little bit higher. Our whole family does. And, my oldest brother, the doctor said, getting close to needing a statin. And I'm like, no, that's how we sit. And when I talk to clients, I look at patterns as well. So we like to see previous markers for your lipid profile. And I look for anything that's spiking. So if they've had set high their entire life, obviously I'm not looking back at their entire life, but you look at the pattern. If it's always been a little bit on the higher side, it's never really changed, that's healthy for them. Yeah. So, and the doctors don't look at that. They'll say, oh, it's just too high, but it's been high my whole life and I'm quite healthy. If you see someone who comes in and their cholesterol sits at a a certain level and then it spikes up, that's when you look at it, what's going on there.
What's going on?
But to say that everybody needs to have cholesterol below 4.5 is ridiculous.
Oh, they said 4 nowadays.
4, yeah.
Isn't that scary?
Well, LDL below 2, isn't it?
Yeah, below 2.
Yeah.
That's scary because it's protective, as you said. I'm just putting away that study on statins and colorectal cancer. So there are risks and side effects of every medication.
That's right.
And that's one of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty scary. So what we haven't talked a lot about is some of the real nasties, like the lipoprotein A. And this is something that I've got an annual general checkup with my GP next week, I think, on Monday. And so we'll do some blood tests then. I do them every year. And last year I said, don't worry about doing my cholesterol. It's useless. And so she said to me on the phone when we were talking about these blood tests, she said, oh, we didn't do cholesterol last year. I said, yeah, whatever. Not interested. Just not interested because I personally, I'm interested in health in every way. You know me. I went to the gym this morning. I eat well, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not worried about cholesterol level.
Yeah.
So isn't that funny? But I'll probably get it done this year and see what, the HDL, and I'll probably get lipoprotein A done.
Yeah.
Because that's a real baddie.
It's a really, really baddie. And that's where if you have high LDL, it might be a good idea to get your lipoprotein A checked.
Yes.
Just to see if it is high because if it is high, you are at a lot higher risk, up to 70% chance of having a heart attack later in life if you don't get it addressed.
Yes.
So that's something you might want to know about.
And we're going to be talking about sort of the treatments of all this sort of stuff and how to get a healthy heart, I guess, generally.
Yeah.
And a healthy body as well.
Yeah.
Because we don't rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't think naturopaths do that very much. They don't just treat one thing and you get sick another way. We're pretty holistic with the way we treat.
Yeah.
There's certain drugs and certain medicines that, of course, do have a side effect that are needed. If you've got chemotherapy, you're going to lose your hair and all this to save you from cancer. It's like, well, I'll pay off. But we try and look at things from treating these things as firstly causative and also we, above all, do no harm.
That's right.
So when you're telling people to eat better and live better and exercise better and take supplements, there's very little harm, not none, but there's less harm with natural therapists. So if you are going to Doc like I am, this is a test that you may want to get to because this is a bit of a serious one.
Yeah, it is a serious one.
Now, lipoprotein A is a tricky little devil of a thing that really gets in there and damages your blood vessels here, and there's lots of associations. And the level, what we're going for here, and it depends on which level you look at here, but I'll pick on the nanomoles per litre, which is what we in Australia go for, which is anything above 150 nanomoles per litre is what we want to watch for. So anything below that is fine. Most people are below that. Most people are below 50. So that seems to be the risk level here. And this is a paper published, to the front of it here, lipoprotein A levels in global population with established atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. So, and this was published 2022. So yeah, it's a nice paper. British Medical Journal, by the way. So I love the British. They've got great graphs.
They're great.
Yeah. I love the graphs.
Yeah, I love a good graph.
It's good. It's like little graphs there. I'm showing you. See the little graph there. That's the one where most people, as you see, most people are below 50, but they allow up to 150 nanomoles per litre. So
so I mean, you look at family history.
Yeah.
So if you do have high LDL, high cholesterol, look at the family history. Look at any incidents you've also had. Get your lipoprotein A checked. You can ask your doctor to test for subfractions, so the large particle and the small particle, LDL and HDL. And there's one other big test.
Now, when you get atherosclerosis, the build-up of crap, around the arteries there, you get calcium's involved.
Yeah.
And you get calcification of the arteries, or as you say, hardening of the arteries.
Yeah.
And calcium can be measured. And I had my coronary arteries measured because my mother had a heart attack and my father's had one, and 3 of my 4 grandparents died of heart attacks. Okay, in their 50s. One of them, my dad's dad died in his 50s of heart disease. My mum's dad died in his early 60s of heart disease. And, I was very young. I was actually, my father's father died before I was even born.
Wow.
So
big family history.
Yeah. So massive family history. And so when my mother had a heart attack and I went, oh, shit, all right. So I went to a cardiologist, got every test under the sun. One of them, the calcium score, 0. No
Perfect.
artery problems
No
at all.
issues.
I was about 47 then, 45, something like that.
Yeah.
Had all my super duper lipid things done, like all of them, lipid, all brilliant.
Yeah.
I went back to the cardiologist. He said, this is the best results. He said, what do you eat? And I said, I have 4 eggs for breakfast. Then he started having a go at me.
No, after he's seen that 0 calcium score.
Yeah.
Great.
It's like going up to Usain Bolt and saying, well, how do you train for that? Oh, well, I do this. That's shit. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was taken aback.
Yeah. That's typical.
I didn't even get past breakfast.
Yeah, crazy.
I said, I don't have any toast. He goes, oh, that's all right. Toast. I said, no, it's not.
So you can have the carb, but not the egg. Yeah, that's
because eggs, and I don't know, look, he was a younger guy. I don't know, but I don't know if now they still think eggs bad for your heart.
Surely not.
I don't know.
Not. Dietary cholesterol, they have proven that it actually doesn't impact your
I know that.
cholesterol.
You got a negative feedback thing, but it's funny. It's like after all seeing this, I had an echo stress test.
Yes.
And that's when you run on a treadmill. I had to go to the maximum speed at the maximum tilt to get my heart rate up. That's how fit I was.
Yeah.
And running.
Yeah.
So and that was brilliant as well. It's like I had perfect health.
But the eggs were just doing you damage, Steve.
They just
get off the eggs.
It's sort of like there's a saying called it's called the facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
And if you feel eggs are bad, yet there's facts showing you that one guy has 4 a day, and it should be bad. Well, if it's bad, it should show up somewhere because I had every freaking test under the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, all the lipids and everything, they're all great.
Yeah. And that just goes to show genetics, because obviously you can be different to even your sibling. Like you might get some different.
I could be adopted.
That's right.
I'm not though. Then.
Yeah. So if you have a family history, it's probably worth like a significant family history. Fathers, mothers, brothers, uncles that have had heart attacks, things like that.
Yep.
Getting a coronary calcium score is probably a very good idea.
Thanks, Dr. Ross Walker, for that.
Dr. Ross Walker, I know, amazing. So he recommends, and the mechanism is when you do get that buildup of the fat in the artery. Obviously, your body will send calcium in to sort of strengthen it. Acts like a sort of a scaffolding type thing. So obviously, the more fat, the more calcium that is built up. So that's where this comes from. So that looks at the levels. So 0, then we've got a little bit of we've got the table here of what the good levels are. So 0, so that means that low risk, you pretty much have a low risk of having a cardiovascular event within the next 5 years, Steve.
Yep, thank you.
So 1 to 10.
That was over 5 years ago, so I'm in trouble.
5 years, you might need another one. 1 to 10 is minimal. Even 11 to 100 is mild.
Yeah.
101 to 400 is moderate, and above 400 is high. So what Dr. Ross Walker recommends is if you have a family history, then get one done. Otherwise, from 50 on for men, and from 60 on from women. The reason being is because you have lower risk of cancer from the radiation. So when you're younger, it's a bit higher. But if you have a family history, I think I'd rather risk that than risk having a heart attack to find out my calcium score.
I was a bit worried because my mum was pretty healthy and still is. She's still around today. Spoke to her yesterday. So she's very healthy, and for her to have a heart attack, she's an ex-smoker.
Yeah.
So, she smoked when she was younger, like everyone did when now she's 80. But it's remarkable, isn't it? It was a fascinating test. She's lie there. Yeah. I think it was bog-billed. I can't remember how much it was.
I think it's not overly expensive. I think he said it's around about, in Australia, $150 to $200, which is quite affordable when you're looking at, the risk versus
because cholesterols and all that are only markers of heart disease. So all these things, they're not actually, this actually looks at your heart.
This looks at your heart, yeah. So you could have quite high LDL if you have a 0 calcium score, no family history, nothing wrong with you.
Yep.
Or lipoprotein A, obviously check all those things.
Yeah.
But otherwise, what we're trying to get at is your LDL level is not a marker of potential heart disease or vascular issues. It's on its own. So there's other factors that need to be looked at. Don't just look at the LDL. If you go to your GP and he says your LDL is high, wants to put you on a statin, no, investigate further because you may not need a statin. And as you said, people who are on statins that don't need them, there's so many adverse effects and potential for more serious conditions down the track the longer you're on it.
I know we haven't got onto treatments yet, but I mean, statins can be good for short term. I've got no problem with them for a few weeks to just knock it down.
Yeah.
And then you get your diet in order. And unfortunately, and I'm going to sound harsh again, but if you're dicking around with your heart and that sort of stuff and you're going, whatever, I'll see it always amazes me how people, smoke and do everything wrong. But then when they have the heart attack, They'll call the ambulance, they'll have the surgery, they'll have the stents, they'll have all sorts of things. And it's like, why didn't you do something mild, like go for a walk before all this? You know? And they can't rewind. So, and you got to be sympathetic to people like that. But it's like, come on, this is largely a preventable disease.
Yeah, it is. And I didn't mention that even an example, which Ross Walker gave, about there was you see it quite often, marathon runners, for instance, super ultra fit, dropping dead in the middle of a marathon from a heart attack. Would never even picture that they would have had a heart attack. Yet you can have someone who can be quite overweight, lives an unhealthy lifestyle, lives to their 90. So genetics plays a huge part in this. It's not your LDL that does it. Yeah. It's your genetics. So it's a good idea to have a look at the family history and get all the testing done if you do have that family history. But there
is a saying amongst marathon runners. It's quite a funny one. Not many people drop dead or die during a marathon, but a lot of people wish they did. So that's how you feel.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've talked about marathons before. I don't get it.
I don't want to think it. It's just
I can't think of anything worse.
The thought, the pain, the knees, the feet, and you just feel like you want to die. So that's interesting. So I mean, the good thing is we can get all this stuff tested.
Yeah,
we can really look after somebody's health by getting a test. Now, lipoprotein A, you might have to pay for.
You probably will, but it's worth it to find out for sure.
I'll probably pay for mine.
Yeah, to get all that done. So we should probably talk about some treatments and some.
I think we're getting to the treatment stage. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot.
Yeah, we do treatments. We've been talking about all the problems and how bad. But I want to talk just about treatments. I want to talk about sort of heart health.
Yes,
we can talk about getting your lipids right, the numbers right. But when, like, a lot of doctors treat numbers, your number's too high, I'm giving you a drug based on that number, and you got to treat the individual. So we want to talk about heart health and how to really help somebody live a heart healthy life. We'll focus on the heart thing and we'll focus on cholesterol thing. So we'll go back to you in clinic.
Yeah,
somebody's come into you, they have measured heart disease. They've done a Ross Wilson scan. I thought Ross Wilson.
He's a singer, wasn't he? what was he in?
What do you mean? What was he in?
Let me guess. Was he in like?
I'm a break into your cold world. I'm trying to give you hints.
I know. Was it Ice House?
No.
Duran Duran.
It was Ivor Davies.
Oh,
Duran. No.
No. Australian band, right?
Yeah. Come back again.
Oh my God, I can't.
Crazy.
Oh, the Eagles. No. Sorry. Oh my God, I'm making myself look so smart, aren't I? I don't know.
You're kind of close with the Eagles. That's why I'm laughing.
The Eagles aren't even Australian, are they?
No. They're an American band with Diane Lee.
I don't know. It's probably before my time, Steve. Was it? No.
Well, what if I said you were doing the Eagle Rock?
Yeah, I still see, even Vanessa doesn't know.
Well, there's in a few bands. But probably the most.
Shirley, no, like, was it the. No,
I was going to tell you.
I give up. No, what was the one that was Shirley Strong? We're going way off track now.
That's Skyhawks.
Skyhawks. Is that what? No.
No, it's not you. That's Shirley Strong in Skyhawks. Goodness.
Okay. No, I give up. I'm going to kick myself, aren't I?
All right, you are. But what if I said, "Come," said the boy?
I know the songs.
Oh, do you?
Ice House. I feel like it's Ice House.
Not Ice House. It's Ivor Davies.
Matt.
Come, said the boy.
Yeah, no. It's on the
down. Sounds about something we can't talk about.
Just give me a letter.
M is and the last word is R.
Oh.
In this band, for the most popular band you ever seen.
We're doing quick Google it, Matt. Google it.
You don't need to Google it.
I don't know.
Mondo Rock.
Oh, yeah. No, I've never got that.
No.
No.
Really?
No, never got it.
You don't know Mondo Rock?
I know of them, but I couldn't tell you one song they sing. I could now.
Come said the boy?
Yeah, come said the boy. Anyway, and that is my time, so that's even more embarrassing.
That is, well, no, it's probably more my time. It was 85.
Oh, I was literally alive by then.
I was in second last year of high school.
Oh, no, it wasn't that. No, I was still in primary school.
Well, he also sung Summer of 81, which was brought out in 1981.
Oh,
that was a famous song.
That's how ironic. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Anyway, I forgot what we were talking about now.
We're talking about Ross Wilson's test. So someone comes to you.
Dr. Ross Walker.
That's right. Now I'm getting good. So Dr. Ross Walker, you've had the coronary test. He's a scored of 400.
Yeah.
This guy, he's middle age. He's my age. He's 54. doesn't exercise much, or he says he used to exercise, as they say, tries to eat healthy is another little code that when they say, try and eat healthy. You heard that one?
I heard that a lot. I really try.
I try to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Or another one is I like to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've had their blood lipids done. Their cholesterol is 7.8. Their LDL is high. HDL is low. Triglycerides are really high, 2.4, let's say. They haven't had lipopropane A or B done. Let's make it simple like that. So they're overweight. They're carrying it all around their gut. This is probably 90% of the male population. Okay, so what sort of, where would you start with the diet and that sort of thing? How would you tackle someone like that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of really good research around the Mediterranean diet. It never goes away for a reason, because there's so much good research around it. So Mediterranean diet, but it's not just the diet they're saying now, it's actually the Mediterranean lifestyle that's actually part of that whole, low incidence of risk of heart disease and things like that, because they have their carbs and things in sort of lunchtime. So they have a fairly decent breakfast, go out and work, have their lunch sort of carbs, they have a bit of a siesta in the afternoon, so they have a bit of a rest, and then they go back and work, and then they have a very light dinner.
Right.
So they're showing now that that's part of that lifestyle. It's not just the diet, because it's not really translating over to some. So the US and Australia that go on a Mediterranean diet still have issues, because we just have the stress and the fast lifestyle. We don't, slow down. We don't rest, all that sort of thing. So, but Mediterranean diet, and we'll talk about omegas, high in omegas, the fish, things like that. Your fibre, omega-3 fatty acids, and we'll talk about the importance of those for your heart. I'm sure there's good research around that as well. A lot of fibre as well. So fibre helps.
So fibre. So when I think Mediterranean, I think Italian, and I think of spaghetti bolognese 3 times a day.
Do you?
You know what I mean?
And pizza.
I'd like to think, and pizza.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not the Mediterranean diet.
That's not the Mediterranean diet.
No, definitely not. So what sort of foods are we looking to include? You mentioned omega-3s and fish, very important.
So fish, so lots of legumes.
Yes.
So people can tolerate legumes, and if you can't, then probably do some gut work to figure out why. Very high in fibre, so your legumes are. So lots of legumes, lots of fresh vegetables, your fresh fruits, so 2 to 3 serves of fruit a day, 4 to 5 to 6 serves of vegetables a day, olive oil, really good monounsaturated fat oil as well,
That's
so really good.
Also, it's rich in polyphenols.
Yeah, it is.
It's potent antioxidants and other goody chemicals.
Anti-inflammatory, all sorts of things.
So don't get the virgin one's fine. A cold press is good, but try and get the unpurified one that's greener.
Yeah, the greener the better.
Yeah, that's got
extra
the
virgin. Yeah, really
extra virgin, cold pressed.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's something simple people can do, and so they'll deep fry their chips in it or something now. But it's the problem is that the monounsaturated fats are extraordinarily healthy, and also, as you mentioned, the omega-3s. Now, omega-3s is basically where you got this big long fat chain, and on the third chain there's double bond.
Yes.
That's an omega-3.
That's right.
And you got these omega-6s and omega-9s. If you think of this from a very simplified point of view, anything with an odd number is usually pretty healthy for your heart.
Yeah, that's right.
So omega-3s, omega-5s, omega-7s, and then 9s.
11.
Now, 6 is not bad for you, but we eat too many of them.
Way too many. The ratio's out. Yeah. So, too many seed oils and things like that.
Yeah.
The 6s.
It's a real problem, because that's like the sunflower oil you get from the supermarkets and
everything.
Cheap.
I mean, then it goes back to processed foods. If you're avoiding processed foods, you're avoiding a lot of those seed oils, refined seed oils anyway. So, but yes, even nuts and things, a lot of people like loads and loads of nuts and not enough omega-3s. So nuts have some omega-3s in them, but a lot of omega-6 and things.
Particularly walnuts.
Walnuts, yes, they're high omega-3s.
It's funny because we did a podcast the other day and it was on the brain, and walnuts are extraordinarily healthy for your brain.
Yeah.
So again, we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul here.
No.
If you increase your omega-3s in your walnuts, just for example, it's going to help your brain.
Yeah.
Same with fish.
Yeah.
Very good for your brain.
Yeah. Well, there's something called an omega index. Omega-3 index as well.
That's a test, isn't it?
It is a test.
Do you do that test?
I do that test, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can do that test. Yeah, so that shows you where you are on the scale.
Yep.
So most Australians are under 4% for their omega index. Most Japanese, because they eat a lot of fish, I think they're above 8. So they're saying that you want to be between 6 and 8, but I think higher is better.
Yeah, yep.
So I've done mine. Mine's quite high, but I have a lot of fish and I have a lot of fish oil as well. So
God, you live in your fishing village, though.
I do live in a fishing village. That's right. We get good reef fish up there.
There's reef fish off there.
Yeah, reef fish. Wow. Yeah, really good reef fish. Yeah, amazing fresh fish. So more fish than you can even imagine. But I also take fish oil. I do a lot of fish, so my omega index is quite high. But I think I have some stats here about how high, what happens the higher it is. I think I did. I can't remember. We've got so many papers. I can't remember what I did, but I didn't. So below 4% puts you at risk, high risk of cardiovascular disease. But between 4 and 8% puts you in the medium risk category, and above 8 is the most desirable for low risk of vascular events. And it's funny because remember a few years ago there were some studies came out on fish oils and cardiovascular health, and they showed that they'd had no benefit, and they like poo-pooed fish oils pretty much.
I remember that. Yeah,
there was quite a few studies, but the problem with that is they were taking over a very short period of time. And what people have to remember with supplements, it's not a short-term gain. So like pharmaceutical short-term gain, some pain down the track. Supplements, more the long game, so they may not work instantly, but they've shown that over 2 years, because these studies were only done up to 2 years, past 2 years, the benefits of fish oil on cardiovascular health were huge. So it's a matter of staying on these things for the longer term. But omega-3 is anti-inflammatory as well.
So like again, an aging man, bad knees from his old footy days or whatever, or not exercising. Yeah, this would help the bad joints, to help the brain. Yeah. And will help the heart. I put most of my clients on fish oils, but to be honest, or if they're plant-based, they're on a plant-based omega-3, which you can get really good ones as well. But fish oils, hormones as well, if I put women on them for hormones, postmenopausal women for the joint health, that's the cognitive function and the heart health. See, I mean, and it's very cheap, fish oils these days. You got to get the good quality.
What I will say, I will premise that be careful with the fish oil if you do choose to get fish oil, not plant-based, because a lot of them have microplastics in them because the ocean's full of microplastics, heavy metals. I would recommend not buying one off a shelf at a retail store, like a big chemist store or something like that. The cheaper brands, because they did a test on, I can't remember how many brands, it was hundreds of brands in Australia, 90% of them came back rancid. Oh. And you don't want rancid fish oil because then that's creating inflammation in your body.
Yeah, that's free radicals and that's cancer stuff, rancid stuff.
So you want a really pure one. I use practitioner ones that have been tested in Germany, amazing testing facility, and they're tested within 0.001% of purity. So you'll be really careful about the fish oil you get. So the ones I say they're a little bit more expensive, but they're doing a lot of good. Yeah. So you can talk to a practitioner or go somewhere that, somewhere a really good high-end health food store, and they sometimes have some good ones as well.
Right. So now just say the bit of background biochemistry. Fish oils, the healthy ones, contain eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, and they're both very anti-inflammatory by down-regulating the prostaglandin of the 2 series and up-regulating the prostaglandin of the 3 series. Now remember, odd numbers, anti-inflammatory. Yep. So the 3s are the ones you want. Yeah, the 2s are the ones you don't want too much. Or the ones are for GLA, which is another oil that we'll talk about when we do a PMS podcast down the track. That's right. It's good for that. Anyway, but yeah, so that's very important. Okay, so this guy's on his fish oils and he's on his Mediterranean diet.
He's on his Mediterranean diet.
Yep.
Obviously, exercise.
Well, we got to talk about that because this person's fat. Now, I'm a fan of exercise first thing in the morning. He can't complain it's too dark. Yeah. Because, I don't let the calendar determine my health. I think it's a weird thing that people do. Have you heard people say that? I'm going to start my diet on Monday. Yeah. So what's the calendar got the power over you? Yeah. Throw the calendar in the bin when it comes to your health. It's everyday exercise. Yeah, that's right. Unless you want to take one day off, but, and you want it to be Sunday, whatever it is, but don't let the calendar dictate your health. It's a 24/7 thing. Yeah. I didn't write the rules, but the human body loves exercise.
It does.
Okay?
It's made to move.
You got 200 and something muscles, I can't remember. But what are they there for? To sit on the couch?
No.
You use about one, your big fat ass muscle to sit on the couch. Yeah. You don't need, it's not for that.
It's not.
Okay, it's for getting out there and moving.
Yeah.
So
exercise. So exercise, and as we said, it's easy to start. You can start with if you are quite overweight and it might be hard on your joints. You can start really easily. You can go to the gym and sit on a recumbent bike, which is one where you sit back, easy on your joints. There's lots of things you can do. So as I said, get up and do some stretching to start. even that is a start, and then move up from there. So exercise, probably one of the top things when we're looking at cardiovascular health.
Yep.
Carbohydrate regulation, as I said, so that comes into diet. So not overdoing the carbs, just regulating them to your lifestyle, your exercise.
And they're so
level,
tasty and so cheap and so easy.
And they're crunchy and salty. And
oh, yeah, they are.
They are. The rice crackers are like this, but anyway.
Oh, you like the rice crackers?
Oh, I've gone off them.
I haven't eaten twisties for years, but if someone magically made them taste the same or healthy, I'd be eating a pack a day like I used to. They are horrendous yellow. And have you seen how yellow they are?
Yeah.
I saw some the other day. I used to eat them all the time. So what was I thinking?
Terrible. No, if I ate a rice cracker, it's definitely just rice. And
you naughty girl!
I know, but but that was on leg days. But I've stopped it now. But anyway,
I had leg day today. I could eat loads of.
You could eat loads of crackers. Well, yesterday you could have.
Well, no, to this morning I did leg day.
Oh, this morning.
Yeah, so I just cracked that out. That was pretty tough. It's always tough at my age. So all right, so let's go through the supplements. You've gone through.
Yeah, I've got a load of supplements that we can talk about.
Now, there's another one on the list there I can see from here. I love that one.
The top one we're talking about?
Yeah.
CoQ10.
Yeah.
Yeah, really important. Really important for mitochondrial health, so the ATP production, so energy. But if you're on a statin, we need CoQ10. Why do we need CoQ10 if you're on a statin, Steve-O?
Because the enzyme 3-hydroxy-3-methyl-glucocoenzyme reductase also makes coenzyme Q10 as well as cholesterol.
Yep.
So if you're on a statin, your CoQ10 levels will be shit. And the form you want to have is the ubiquinol form.
Yep, not ubiquinone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ubiquinone is cheaper, I get it, but the ubiquinol is a better form because it's the reduced form. Dosages, you'd know better than I, but about
150.
100. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
150. And if you do have sort of heart disease, you go up to 300.
Yep.
Yeah.
It also slightly reduces blood pressure, which is always handy.
Yeah, and it also converts small LDL to large LDL.
Oh, yeah, I read that once.
About. Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's an antioxidant.
So that makes your, quote, bad cholesterol, your real bad cholesterol, into a better bad cholesterol. But it's still not bad for you at all.
Yeah, you just kicked my camera again, Steve. Determined to kick me over. So CoQ10. So ubiquinol, not ubiquinone. So ubiquinone, interestingly, it's the inactive form, so our body has to convert it. Over the age of, I think, 50... 50 is everything. It's like that. Yeah, we lose that enzyme, so we can't actually convert it to ubiquinol. So why not just take the ubiquinol? It's better anyway. Yeah. So that's the form I give to clients.
And you're young. You probably take that one, do you?
I don't take CoQ10 at the moment, actually. I probably should.
I don't either.
Post-COVID, I probably should take it when I had COVID. But it's good for that too. But yeah, so very important if you're on a statin to be on some CoQ10.
Wow.
Because it depletes it significantly. It also depletes selenium, vitamin D, a few other nutrients as well. So you want to look at those levels.
D, of course, because it's made from cholesterol.
That's right, exactly. And
you got another one there, lysine. Tell me about that one.
This one's an interesting little mix. So
I haven't heard about lysine.
This came from Dr. Ross Walker, but he's taken it from there's a guy, I should have written his name down, but he developed this. And Dr. Ross Walker says this is all anecdotal. There's no scientific studies around this. But interestingly, this combination, so lysine, vitamin C and vitamin E combination, he puts a lot of his heart patients on that have elevated calcium, coronary calcium. And he said, as he said, it's anecdotal, but he's seen really great results in clinic with it.
Wow.
It's funnily enough, I take this trifecta, and I started taking this trifecta after I had COVID. I think I've spoken about I had COVID last year, and it was very severe.
Yeah, you got a bad bug.
Yeah, so I was trying to protect my heart because obviously when you get COVID, it can definitely impact your heart.
It does, yeah, especially the sac that covers the heart.
Yeah, so I started taking it for that. So I was taking the lysine, obviously, and the vitamin C for the immune and the antiviral. But the lysine, it actually blocks that uptake of the calcium into the...
does it?
Yeah. So very good for that coronary calcium. There's a lot of good studies on that. So that's really interesting. So he puts that in there. The vitamin C, obviously antioxidant, immune as well. And then vitamin E, very, very good for the heart.
Yeah, and you're talking about trocotrienols there. There's 4 types.
Trocotrienols, not tocopherols.
And what about tocopherols?
Tocopherols are a bit better, but trocotrienols and... Well, there's one that I use. It's natural. So it's a tocotrienol, and it's made from annatto, which is a plant, and that's a natural form of vitamin E. the one that I prescribe, really amazing research around that, highly absorbable, much better than the tocopherols. They're synthetic.
D-alpha-tocopherol.
Yeah.
If D-L-alpha-tocopherol, I mean it is synthetic.
Yeah.
So avoid D-L-alpha-tocopherol at all stages.
At all costs.
The alpha-tocopherol succinate is one that's good for the prostate, but we're talking about the heart. Interesting. The lysine an interesting one. I'm still trying.
Yeah, the lysine is really, and we can get the studies on that if people want that. But yes, it does. It blocks that uptake of calcium. So lysine, vitamin C and vitamin E work synergistically together.
Yep, they do.
They're antioxidant as well.
Because oxidization of the LDL cholesterol is a bad thing too. The lysine is also used for herpes.
I did put the thing in there. Yeah, for herpes as well. So for that, I used it, as I said, post-COVID. It prevents and dissolves lipoprotein A plaques.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got the study here if anyone wants it, we can put it up.
Jeez. Okay, because lipoprotein A is a tricky one to treat.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about earlier.
Wow.
Lipoprotein A. So it actually dissolves the plaques, lipoprotein A plaques. So that combination, and he uses, this is again Dr. Ross Walker's, 1,000 milligrams of lysine a day. A day, and then vitamin C twice a day, and vitamin D once a day as well. So, I've been using that for a while now, actually. So there you go. So I'm doing something good for my heart. But that's for people that have issues with the plaques. So, and as I said, anecdotal, but he's been using it for years and swears by it.
So he's a smart guy.
Well, I mean, really I swear by vitamin E. The vitamin E that I use, I swear by that for heart stuff, definitely. Wow. Vitamin K2.
Yeah, I saw that there. I'm thinking K2. That's not the mountain K2 in the Himalayas.
No.
Okay.
It's
so
not.
Vitamin K2, what is it? What does it do with it?
Yeah, so vitamin K2, well, they use it for people with coronary heart disease because it takes the calcium out of the arteries and it puts it back in the bone. So it's a bone builder, K2.
Yeah, it is a bone builder.
Yeah. So very good for postmenopausal women, actually. Yeah. So for the bone.
Often you see it combined with vitamin D.
Yeah, vitamin D. Yeah, D and K2. It's very common to see those together. So that's really good for taking the calcium out of the arteries.
Wow, that's
puts
a good
it back
one.
where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, in the bones.
Exactly, in the bones.
Along with your exercise helps with that too, of course.
That's right, resistance training.
Geez, I'm sorry, you can't. But how many people say to you, I want to do this, but what can I do apart from exercise?
I get a lot of people that try to shortcut. They want to and then look, and a lot of people, some people, they just want to supplement. And I'm like, well, there's no point giving you the supplement if you're not going to do the lifestyle things because it won't do any good.
No.
You can't shortcut your health. You just can't.
It's not the cause of it. You haven't got heart disease due to a statin deficiency.
No.
That's not the cause of it.
No, that's right.
We're all about getting to the cause.
Yeah.
You got another one there that'll keep vampires away as well.
Yeah, aged garlic.
Whoa. So that'll protect you from vampires and coronary artery disease.
That's right. It's very good for coronary artery disease. So reduction in coronary artery disease progression and a reduction in atherosclerotic plaque size. It improves endothelial function. It reduces high blood pressure, reduces inflammation. Garlic, good old garlic. Aged garlic, I must say, though. Has to be aged.
So here's the trick. So we're talking about reversing atherosclerosis.
Yeah.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
So you've got it there. Mm-hmm. You've got this calcium score thing going up, and this can reverse it.
Yeah.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah. And you can take, there's all the studies are done on aged garlic.
Yep.
You can use fresh garlic.
Yep.
What you have to do, though, is you have to chop it up.
Yep.
And you have to leave it sitting for at least 10 minutes before you use it.
Really?
Preferably eat it raw.
To activate the allicin?
Activates the allicin, which is the active compound.
Wow.
But if you can't handle it raw, you can lightly cook it, but leave it for 10 minutes first, and then that will activate that allicin. I prescribe garlic. I prescribe allicin in clinic, so that's just had that active ingredient taken out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so you can get that. So garlic's a really good one, and for so many reasons, garlic is good. Also, really good for the gut microbiome.
The next one's an interesting one.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one. Nicotinic acid. Now, there's a lot of negativity around this, and I could see it in your face, Steve.
I've taken this at high doses before.
Yeah. So there was a lot of research done, and again, this comes from Ross Walker. I want to keep credit him because it's not my research. There was no benefit to niacin for people who had heart issues because that was one of the things they wanted to put them on. No benefits whatsoever, but they used the, again, crappy form. inactive form, the synthetic form, slow-acting form. So it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So you don't want to use niacin. You want to use nicotinic acid.
Nicotinic acid,
fast-acting.
Yep.
Causes vasodilation.
Does.
Which then allows the toxins to be flushed out through your veins. So
the side effect of this is incredible.
Yeah.
You get such a red face.
You get flushing.
It's like you're 16, you've met the girl of your dreams.
Yeah.
You know, you just get that red hot flush.
Or you're 50-something plus female and you get flushes. You know, one end of the spectrum.
I can't relate to that. Even though I'm old enough, I'm just not the right chromosomes enough. No.
But nicotinic acid, again, anecdotal.
Yep.
But
I know there's data on nicotinic acid regulating your cholesterol levels. There's a fair bit of data on that.
I mean, I take nicotinic riboside because it's anti-aging.
What do you need that for? You're already so young.
Well, I'm just preparing for the future, Steve.
Why? You'll be 50 in how many years now?
Oh, it's too many to count. I can't even think.
No, it's hard to add that number up.
I know it is hard to add that number up. So nicotinic acid is one thing he uses as well. So so you get that flushing.
Yeah,
and that's showing that it's actually opening up those.
It was the original Viagra in the olden days.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Just before your time.
Way before my time, yeah.
Wrong sex too, I guess.
That's right, I didn't need it.
Yeah, that too.
Never needed to go there. The next one's an interesting one. So this one, a bergamot-derived polyphenol.
What's bergamot?
So bergamot's we actually use bergamot in natural medicine a lot.
Yeah, lots.
So he's got I don't know if I want to say the product name, but he's done a lot of research around this.
Yeah.
It shifts small LDL to large LDL particles and small HDL to large HDL particles.
Yep.
It improves fatty liver. A study showed that up to 40% reduction in lipid parameters in the blood of patients with hyperlipidemia. And the same for triglycerides, went 40% reduction. And very good.
40%? That's remarkable.
Up to 40% reduction with this.
That's better than some of the statins.
Yeah, well, I think some of the studies he did as well, they had them on a high statin, which reduced the LDL. And I don't have all the stats. I do have the link here. We could put that up for people. But from memory, because I did read it the other day. So then they halved the statin and increased the bergamot-derived polyphenol. And they got a better result again, so a lower level of the LDL again. So the bergamot, he recommends, Dr. Roswell, because then everyone that's on a statin should be on bergamot, or even they're not on a statin.
Good idea.
Be on bergamot, for high LDL, things like that. Has so many other amazing benefits. So that's a really interesting one. And there is a product, I have prescribed it in the past, that has the.
We don't sell it, so we're not flogging this off to
No, we don't sell it.
Sell it.
No.
So we're doing this because of the research and because of the health, and it's a remarkable herb for the heart.
Yeah.
What about, I hit you with heart without notice, but what about herbs like hawthorn berry and that? Is that what you said?
Yeah, hawthorn berry.
Did you?
Yeah.
I have not talked to you about this.
No, hawthorn berry is great for the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
I used to use it a lot when people had high blood pressure and with heart disease.
Yep.
The berries themselves were terrific.
Yeah.
You know, with limes, lime extract was great for for blood pressure and all that sort of stuff.
Taurine as well. I used to put taurine, and then I'd do some hawthorn and a few other things. Yeah, really good for high blood pressure.
You know, there's all these other tricky things. What else you got for us for the heart?
So we got the omegas. So I generally high dose omegas.
Yep.
I go up to 4 grams a day of omegas, and I do higher dose. I've gone up to 10 in the past with some people myself, but I generally do 4 grams a day. So that's the higher end.
Good.
So that's kind of a fairly good rundown of a lot of the nutrients that you can put in there to help with if you do have issues.
We have to mention the elephant in the room, which is stress.
Stress. I didn't say stress, did I? Stress is one of the big ones to address. This is a big one. Stress causes all sorts of dyslipidemia, high cortisols, breaks down muscle tissue. Yep.
Really destroys your heart, chronic stress. And you know, the stress from exercise is a beneficial stress, but the chronic stress that people are going through with their mortgages these days, interest rates have gone up a dozen times in the last year. Cost of living, all it. So these are chronic pressures that are on people these days. I mean, we can't pay everyone's mortgage off. So what would you do for someone who's chronically stressed? What would be a couple of approaches you could use to get...
Well, I always talk about lifestyle.
Yeah.
People who are chronically stressed.
Yep.
So lot of stress reduction activities. It's
Yep.
the first thing I say.
Yeah.
There's no point giving them adaptogens and things
Yeah.
to support their stress response without them working on things that are actually going to reduce their stress lifestyle-wise. So it could be things as simple as, and I say to people who are, again, working long hours and they say, I don't have time to do yoga, things like that. And I say it's not about getting yoga and meditation down and sitting in the corner for an hour and meditating. It's not about that. You can start with 5 minutes a day of deep breathing.
Yeah.
We're going to do a podcast on breathing at some point because I think that'd be a great topic.
Love it.
But that
Talk
helps
about the potato breathing method.
we'll talk about all those.
Yeah.
The benefits of that. But that helps to activate your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
So that's your relaxing nervous system function. So deep breathing, you can do that in the office. You can do that at the desk. So that's something. Obviously, getting out in nature. If you have animals, you can go and hang out with your animals. Exercise, mild to moderate exercise, not high intensity exercise is good for stress as well. So all those lifestyle factors, I try to get them under control a little bit or happening. And then we can add in things like adaptogens. So we love our adaptogens.
Yeah, of course.
So that they're really good. So your euthanias, your schizandras, your gotocolas, all those types of really nice herbs.
Cool,
Magnesiums for your nutrients, your B vitamins as well for that nervous system function. Really good. Yeah. Magnesium glycinate, so the glycine's quite calming as well. So
it is,
really good.
and the glycine calms too, and like magnesium threonate's a good one too. I just like
threonate's really good.
I don't know if that's too popular in Australia though, is it?
It's harder to get. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can get it. I prescribe it sometimes.
We talk about these herbal adaptogens, which are great, but I think you're right. The lifestyle's got to come first. The herbs 100%. Are kind of like another option to have at night to help you sleep and all that sort of stuff. We've done a podcast on sleep, and I think that's going to help you with your heart and help you with your stress levels. I think it's remarkable.
Definitely. So,
is there anything else you think you want to mention somebody with this in this realm, like any other treatment options that you found that even in your practice you found useful?
Well, I think I've covered a lot of them.
Yeah,
so exercise, diet, stress management, some good nutrient, health, heart-supporting nutrients, your herbs. That's kind of where I would start.
Mediterranean diet. I also like mixed nuts are very healthy for your heart.
Yeah, the mixed nuts, the healthy fats in your nuts, really
very
good as well.
Isn't it funny how we're talking about increasing people's fats with fish oils and that, supplementing them, and yet in the from the days of Ansel Keys, fat was the biggest enemy on the planet. Yeah, and saturated fat was even worse. Yet, coconut oil, for example, extraordinarily healthy. Yeah, and that's for all saturated fat. Yeah, pretty 80% saturated fat. Yeah, isn't that weird? Avocados mostly saturated fat. Yeah, exactly. Healthy.
That's exactly
Isn't
right.
it funny how we've done this big? And it wasn't like that. They were always good for our heart. It's just that there was some data presented. Yeah. In the old days, and that's what has happened, and unfortunately we're still recovering from that. Yeah, yeah. But the data is pretty clear these days that what you've outlined is an extraordinarily healthy heart sort of approach.
Yeah, definitely. And and so what I will say is, if you are on a statin, I think we said it before, do not go off your statin. No. Talk to your doctor. Yep. Don't come to me to tell you to go off it, because I won't. No. So you have to talk to your doctor about that. But if you feel like you're one of these people that we've talked about today that are on a statin that possibly don't need one, you have high LDL but no other issues at all, it might be worth going back to talk to your doctor about that, maybe getting some other measures checked, just to make sure that if that's something you actually really need. Because I've got a little chart here. So this is a little bit of a...
tell us about the chart.
What can happen? So this is people who've been on statins for 5 years without known heart disease. Okay. Right? So no issues with any...
So they've treated a number on your blood results, okay?
Yeah, and this is someone who's been up 5 years, no other issues except high LDL, basically. So 98% saw no benefit. 98%. Yep. I mean, that's pretty high, isn't it? Yep. 0% were helped for being saved from death.
So 0%. So 0%. That's not a good percentage.
Didn't help them there. 1.8 were helped by preventing a heart attack. So 1.8. Was that 1.8 or 1.6? Oh, sorry, I'm getting my new glasses next week. I'll be able to see again. 1.6. So 1.6 minimal. 0.4 were helped by preventing a stroke.
Yeah.
0.4. I mean, it's still 0.4, but 1.5 were harmed by developing diabetes.
Side effects of statins is increased diabetes dramatically.
And I think I didn't mention, I think I wrote something about here, residual risk with statin use in people who are on statins are still at risk of cardiovascular events because there are obviously, as we talked about, the reasons are other than high LDL. And residual risk of cardiovascular disease is particularly high in those with diabetes treated with statins because they have other underlying factors. It's not the LDL. What was I saying that for? Yeah, so there's all these other issues around that. So diabetes is one of them. 10% were harmed by myalgia or weakness. So that's muscle pain.
Yeah, terrible.
And 20% developed neurocognitive symptoms from the statins.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
For treating a number.
Yeah. So what I think the main message out of this podcast that we wanted to get across was don't look at your LDL as the be-all and end-all. It is always something else going on. So, talk to your doctor if you're concerned. As I said, if you're on a statin and you're wondering if you should be on a statin.
Yep.
And if you are on a statin and you do have cardiovascular risk or you've had a coronary calcium score and you have high calcium levels, then a lot of the protocols can be helpful for you as well. So obviously work with your doctor.
Absolutely.
Also.
And all these recommendations of stressing less, eating healthier and all this, it's going to help your body anyway.
Get on the lifestyle things. That's what we're all about as naturopaths anyway, is lifestyle, get that balanced.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
So much we can do.
So much we can do, It's amazing. So, I mean, I found it really fascinating doing a lot of research for this because, we really want to bust that myth that cholesterol is the root of all evil.
Jeez, I don't even care about it. But here's the weird thing is you also got to remember, just before we're running out of time, but there are medications that can increase heart disease risk as well.
Yeah.
Really common ones, migraine medications increase heart disease risk.
Yeah.
So just be careful with whatever medication you're on, consider your heart.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Talk to your doctor about that.
Yeah.
Well, 100%. This has been amazing.
Yeah, I
learned more than I thought I would.
So I learned more than I thought I would when I was doing the research. I was so excited about it. Yeah. So, I mean, look, we're nerds. So hopefully this will translate to the audience, might get excited about it as well. But I think it's good for people to know because it's not just all about, your number on your blood test.
Amazing. All right, we've clearly run out of time.
Tired now. Energy, nervous energy to get it out. It was so much fun.
Time for the Go Q10, the pepper energy.
That's right, exactly.
All right.
Gotta get that.
Well, we'll see you next week, Nick.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, see you, Steve-O. See you, everybody. Bye.